What's up, guys? This is Chad with Living the Van Life up here in Washington. I am currently here in the edit studio, which is where I spend a lot of my time after I've gone out and captured an episode out in the wilderness. I come back here and sift through the footage and put together the episodes. It probably takes me between 40 to 50 hours worth of editing to put the episodes together that you guys get to sit and enjoy here on the Living the Van Life channel. Anyways, during my last outing, I did capture some behind the scenes type footage that would give you guys an inside look of what it takes to capture all of this. And that video was the winter survival, alone in the wilderness, living the van life. And so I'm going to go ahead and let this footage roll. I'm also going to join you with some commentary and pop in and explain to you guys what I'm doing in the scene and stuff like that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and roll the footage. What's up, guys? This is Chad with Living the Van Life up here in Washington. Currently we are headed up for the North Cascade mountain range. I wanted to take you guys on a little bit of a behind the scenes trip of what it takes to actually film these videos. You guys have been wondering how I do it. You guys have been wondering what camera crew I have with me, who flies the drone, who drives the van, and hopefully this video will give you a little bit insight on that. I got up this morning at 5:30 a.m. to start this whole entire process. When it comes to filming a camping trip, the simple things that normally take maybe an hour or two now take 5 to 6 times longer because it involves myself with my camera, my tripod, the drone, setting up all the different angles. So now I find that leaving at a normal time to go camping just doesn't cut it. I need a full entire day just to create the most simple scenes. So this involves getting up at 5:30 a.m., hitting the road by 6:30, and getting up into the hills and starting this whole process. So here we are. It's cold, it's early. We're gonna get this show on the road. There's nothing more frustrating than getting out to a spot. You've got an idea for a video, you've got an idea for a story that you want to tell, and you have an idea for a scene that you want to show, and you get out there and then you realize that filming all of it is going to take you 5 to 6 times longer, and realizing you're up against the pressure of nature's clock, which is the sun and the light. Because up here in the Pacific Northwest, the daylight hours during the winter time are very, very minimal. It doesn't get light until 8:30 a.m. and by 4:30 p.m. it is completely dark and no usable light. So I've gotten to the point where I push myself to get up as early as possible and make use of the full day, because after all, it's not all about trying to just make the video. You want to be able to enjoy the experience as well.
I took myself down to the bank, took all my money and I said thank you. I spent it all just to fill my tank. Spent my time trying to change you, tried to hold a fistful of sand, but I hold tight with an empty hand, and I think I finally understand. I've been living on this liquid land. I've been around, I've seen the towns and mountains, seen a million clouds. I felt the rain come down. Well, mirror, mirror on the wall,
We've made it as far as we can in 2-wheel drive. This is the scene where we're at, climbing this hill. The van just slipped a little bit. This is where we put the chains on. It's not even just coming out to do some simple camping or even simple filming. Got to chain up too to get through this stuff so we can get ourselves into some cool scenes. I'm out of breath, guys. And here's an example of how my huge camera crew sets up a shot. I've walked up the road with my camera and my tripod. I've just walked from the van, which you can see way in the background there, to set it here on the side of the road and film this van driving by. This shot will probably be on screen a maximum of 3 to 5 seconds, but it's worth the shot. And this is how my camera crew gets these shots. That's one shot. My camera crew consists of me, myself, and I. Well, and I'm sure this is actually the moment that all of you guys have been waiting for in this here particular video. You guys are always wondering how I fly the drone while I drive, who's flying the drone, who's driving the van, who's flying the van, who's driving the drone. I know it's all a big question, but it's all this little guy right here. This guy right here is the DJI Mavic Air. And this is the drone that's responsible for getting all those amazing aerial shots that you guys are always oohing and awing about and always curious about how I get. And it's pretty cool because it just unfolds. You can see the wings just fold out. And there we go. We've got our drone. The camera is on a gimbal right here. Everything just folds out. It's all designed to be pocket-sized little guy. The DJI Mavic Air. No, I'm not sponsored by DJI, nor was I actually paid to say this. This is just the drone that I use and I enjoy and gets amazing shots for me. The greatest thing is that it's compact enough that it fits right in the van. In fact, heck, it'll fit right in your pocket if you want to. Now, the controller aspect, this right here is the little controller. And as you can see, my iPhone is hooked up to it. And between the controller and the iPhone, this is my flight command center. And the camera feed from what the camera's seeing on the drone is fed through to your phone, so you can monitor and you can see exactly what the drone's seeing. And that's your interface for being able to communicate between the controller and the drone. Now, a lot of you guys are asking, well, how do you actually fly the drone while you're driving? These things and most of the drones that are out there are all GPS enabled, which means you fly the thing into position. It's completely, you take your hands off and the thing will hover and hold its position as long as it's got GPS connection. Now, I don't recommend doing that, but that's what they're capable of. So what I do is I fly them up in position, I switch it over to a mode called active track, and then it's designed to be able to track a moving object that is in the path of the camera, and it'll follow along with me. I can set the controller in my lap, but then I can have both hands on the wheel and drive safely through the scene. Once I'm through the scene, then I park in a safe spot and I fly the drone back to me, and that's how I get the shots. So we're gonna go ahead and launch this thing because we gotta get some cool aerial shots of the van driving through the snowy scene as we work our way towards our camp spot. Just gonna turn on our drone. It does its little boot up thing. I mean, look at this thing. It's like an alien. And as you can see right here, guys, what's being seen on the drone is being seen on my phone and seen by you guys. This is what takes so long when it comes to filming these videos. But then you throw on top of that the fact that we're filming a behind the scenes of making a video. So it's like making a video about camping in a van in the wilderness. Now we're just really putting the pressure on. So far we got the green blinking light, so that's a good thing. That means it's hooking up to satellites.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
There we go. It's all set to go, ready to take off. As you guys can see there, hands-free, it's sitting there, it's doing its thing. It's got motion sensors so that if it happens to come close to something like a tree, it's sensing my hand so it's moving out of the way. It's sensing you guys so it won't go forward. All right, there. So that's how we launch a drone. At this point, we're gonna jump in the van. We're gonna set up a shot. We're gonna drive the van through the scene. As you can see, the drone is hovering up above me. The reason it's beeping right now is because it's sensing a tree that is 17 feet behind it. That's how when it's driving, if I come close to a tree, then it stops and hopefully doesn't crash into it, although that doesn't always happen. So anyways, batteries are wasting. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing into position and get the van moving. Okay, the drone's now recording. That's the scene we're gonna drive through. The reason the alarm is on right now is because we've got a battery going dead on us because we spent too much time messing around filming the behind the scenes shots. Well, and there you have it, guys. That's basically sums up the whole drone flying scenario. Now, I'm not always able to get all the shots in one flight, and a lot of times it takes several different flights to get these things going. It's important for me to keep my batteries charged up on that thing because it does take a lot of flying to get even just a few shots. Now, that's the beauty about editing, is a lot of times in these shots there'll be just a small little slice of the bigger overall shot that is usable, and in editing we're able to go in and just pick those small moments that end up perfectly cinematic, and that's what you end up seeing in the final cut of the overall video. So here's just a lot more of back and forth of stopping the van, walking out to set up a camera, walking back to the van, and driving the van through the scene. And there again, I think it's just important to be able to capture the outside perspective of the van moving through these scenes, especially up here in the mountains with all the snow. It's just so beautiful. So to be able to give you guys that outside perspective really helps the overall feeling of these videos, and so I take extra time to capture that, because otherwise it would just be me sitting in the van the whole entire time. And part of what I want to do with these videos is give you the experience of what it's like to be up here in the mountains. And of course, then there's the aspect of filming this in the conditions that we're in, which is deep snow out on a remote road in the wilderness. Filming adds a whole extra element to having to back up and down through these conditions. It's hard enough to get the van to go in a straight line going forward, then going back and forth. We're just raising the risk of getting stuck, but we got to get the shots. It's all about creating the experience of what it's like being out here, getting to these spots. It takes more work and a little bit more risk involved, especially when it's crazy winter time like this, but it's all worth it when it comes down to it. Got the camera set up, running back to the van, get the shot. This is good exercise. Filming van life videos. Hell yeah. Whew. I tell you what, if I don't work on knocking the snow off my boots, I'll end up with a lake in my front seat. Way down there, that's a camera. That's gonna be our shot. Yes. I love that shot. Now that clicking that you guys hear, that's my snow chains clicking on my rear trailing arm. Oh man, we toasted the camera on this one. Oh man, poor camera. That's from the wake of the van. Shit. I'm gonna pause this video here for a second. Now, the way that I view cameras is when you're a filmmaker, cameras are tools. And yes, they are expensive and they are intricate and very delicate. However, when they're a tool, then I feel like that justifies using them a little more ruggedly. If you always stay within the box, and you're never gonna try and push the limits of your camera angles, or try to get something a little more perspective. So if it gets a little bit wet or a little bit dirty and it's not perfectly showroom shiny all the time, well, that's because they're tools and they're meant to be getting the job done. So that's why in instances like this, I don't want to ruin the camera, but if it gets some snow on it and it looks a little more rugged than what it usually does straight off the showroom floor, well, that's what tools are for. So in this instance, the camera definitely got used as a tool. Sorry, camera. Shit. Luckily it's cold and not wet. Try and get as much of it off of there as I can. The wake of the snow from the van, it's like literally a boat in water. And it just toasts the camera when I set it up that close to get those shots. I'll take the microphone off and deal with it separately. It was a cool shot, at least. Long lens shot down that road, cool lighting, fresh deep powder. That damn thing reminds me of a freight train where they're going through those like snowy mountains and they've got the plows on the front of the trains and that train just blasting the snow. Oh, it'll definitely make the cut. Hopefully the camera makes it through. Well, the good news is the camera actually made it through. I'm actually talking to you guys on it right now. So Canon does a really great job of weather sealing these higher end cameras. Specifically the EOS R is weather sealed, and so if it's light rain or a little bit of dry powdery snow, then knock on wood, so far it's been okay. But that's a good thing about having one of the higher end cameras, that they do put some weather sealing in it. Well, after setting up these shots like this where it takes a little bit more extra time, I always like to go back and replay the clip and see how it actually looks. Make sure we got the shot that we set up for, because if we don't get the shot that we came out here to get, it ain't worth taking the time to do it. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes. Oh man, see, that's shots like that that make a video. Carnage. I don't know what I did there. Little bloody knuckle. War wounds. Ah! Let's check the time. All right, so here we're going on a quarter till 11 in the morning. We were on the road by 6:30 this morning. We're several hours into it. That gives you an idea of the kind of time that it takes to set up these shots. That's all right though. We're up here getting the shots, making it count. Start to get to camp though. I don't think it's too much further up the road, and then we got a whole nother adventure upon us to get into camp, get it set up, and get things going. And shit, we got a tree across the road. Now my whole goal with the whole entire scenes of cutting through these tree falls was to make sure and give you guys the experience of being there with me, giving you an idea of the amount of work that it actually takes to get through these things, because that's part of what has built the whole adventure in this particular video. And here it is, just setting up different camera angles, doing a little bit of sawing, going back to change another camera angle, because I wanted to get the overall tree falling down. Going back to the saw, a few more whacks at the saw. Now that's the beauty of editing, is you guys in the end only have to see the meat and potatoes. At this point, I'm editing in my head as I'm working through this. I'm like, okay, I want to have this camera angle, you know, then show this camera angle. So as I'm walking through this scene, it looks like I'm just randomly throwing my tools down, walking, turning around, coming back, picking the tools back up. But that's all me editing in my head of how I want to put it together. So I'm making sure that I get my right entrance points, my right exit points, so that I can cut all the scenes together and make it flow seamlessly for you guys in the end. So the edit process starts in the field in these moments right here. But all these shots here are just showing the walking to the camera to change the camera angle, then walking back into the scene to actually perform the scene out, and then walking back to the camera to change the angle. And that's my goal with kind of putting all this together here in the behind the scenes for you. That was a lot of work for one little tree, but I didn't realize what was coming around the corner. And of course, just epic shots like that, seeing the van come through the snow, that's cinematically what makes these videos interesting, giving you guys that outside perspective. Son of a bitch. And this was exactly what I wasn't prepared for. after cutting down the one tree, coming around the corner to a whole pile of trees, actually quickly realizing that this would make for really great content to work through the scene. Little did I realize inside working through that, cutting down those trees, did I realize there was actually a lesson even for myself, which is cool because I was there filming it and was actually able to share the lesson with you guys. I hate coming so far just to be held up by this. I don't know. Maybe I can make something work. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how far we can get. These next boot scenes here, I included this in here because these little angles of putting the boots on, grabbing the tools, that all make for the overall story of what it takes to, you know, be there in the moment and prepare and go out and get ready to go work on these trees. So here it's taking the boot off so that I can cut in there. There again, I'm editing in my head as I'm filming this, knowing that I need that part of the boot slipping on. And here's the first angle, and I go through and I do work, and then I walk back to the camera to switch it up to a different angle, which is this one. And it's identifying which parts of this tree fall are important to me getting through it. The one is this big huge fat tree, so it's setting up an angle that could show me getting that out of there. It would have been easy for me to have set up one camera just, you know, off in the corner somewhere and just captured the whole scene as a time lapse, but my nature as a filmmaker is that I want to get in there and show you guys all the different angles. So what that involves is going, setting up a camera angle, going into the scene, pick up the tool, hammer out a few whacks on the axe or the saw, and then switch up the camera angle, go back to work on the axe and the saw and chipping away at that tree and just capture as many different angles. That way when it comes to editing, we've got a lot of really interesting and intriguing footage that makes the whole video that much more interesting. And that just all comes from the years and years of filmmaking and learning what different camera angles can do for you. More camera angles. More clearing. Back for another camera angle. Like I said, it's just trying to capture unique perspectives that when it's all put together, it feels like one big production. But as you guys can see, the camera crew, it consists of me, myself, and I. It's all done just by setting a camera up on a tripod or throwing a drone up in the air. Whew! Man, that's a lot of work. And I know there's been a ton of comments about, well, dude, you chopped through all that firewood. Why didn't you save that for your firewood? Well, I guess the good thing about this situation is I know where all the firewood is. I'm standing on it. I should have probably actually addressed my thoughts on that because really this firewood was really close to where I ended up camping. But as I explained further in the final video, my overall challenge to myself for this project was to learn how to harvest firewood actually out of the forest and not just pick it up off the side of the road. That's why you didn't see me use any of this firewood. This whole project of getting through the trees probably took me about 3 hours. So I had to pick and choose what I was actually going to film. There was no way I could film all of it. I think on this trip I had about 300 gigabytes worth of footage. Darn near used up every single one of my memory cards because of the amount of work that it took to get through these trees and wanting to film as much of it as possible, which I think was important because there were some very good messages and lessons in cutting through these trees. I'm glad I took the time to do it. It's taught me something, and hopefully I was able to share that with you guys as well through this process. But hopefully this gives you guys a thorough idea of what it takes for camera angles. Whew! Guys, I'm getting too old for this stuff. Whew. All right, back to work. Ah! Yeah! Woo! Just like that. You tree. There's a lesson in that right there. You just got to be the eager beaver on the tree of life. That's actually the line that I wish I would have kept in the actual final cut of the film. Sometimes different camera angles just involves zooming the camera in for a little different focal length. And with all this, there is a lot of editing that goes on in my head as I'm working through this and setting up different camera angles, thinking of how I'm going to edit it in post. Like, okay, well, I got this angle now, and the next important angle is going to be this one, and okay, then after that I can cut to that one. I think that's what makes a really good cinematographer, is being able to understand the editing process. And as you're out there shooting and capturing stuff, editing it in your head, or how an editor might think when it comes to putting this stuff together. A lot of what we do professionally is documentary filmmaking. Being in these scenes where reality is unfolding before us, we got to be on our toes and thinking of what angles are going to be needed to tell the story. And that comes from a lot of years of also editing myself, just learning to edit in my head as I shoot. And that's really helped me with van life videos, that I've already got an idea planned out in my head of how I'm going to cut the shots together, and it was actually shot that way. The hard work is done. Besides filming an episode now. That's certainly a good behind the scenes demonstration of what it takes to get out here and do these videos. And like I actually explained in the film that I put together about this journey, is that there's a lesson in everything. Even just going through this to get out to a camp spot, a lot of people might think it's ridiculous, like, why would you do all that just to go camping? But to me, it's a lesson. It shows me that my tools work and that I have the ability to be able to overcome stuff like that. So anyways, behind the scenes of what it takes to get out here and do these videos. Now, I've got my camera crews set up out here. So we got the EOS R here. It is now rolling on one angle. And then if you guys see there, is the 70D that is set up on a tripod, so we're going to capture this with two angles. So that's the camera crew, guys. That's how this works out here when you're doing this stuff solo. I definitely did go in and do a lot of work of cleaning the underbrush of what was laying in that pile of trees, because with the van driving through here, the last thing you want to do is kick up a hidden log or a branch and hook something or puncture something underneath the van. So I did spend a lot of time going through that. That wasn't necessarily in the film. But I always like the comments when I drive away from the camera. Dude, you left your camera behind. Don't you worry, guys, I wouldn't leave without you. I didn't forget about you. We're still going. And by this time I'm realizing that the sun is going down, and my whole goal of getting up there early is I wanted to hunt for the firewood, and I also wanted to cook a meal, perhaps while it was actually light out. So at this point I'm realizing that light is quickly fading and I'm trying to get into camp as fast as I can. But it was such a beautiful scene that I did have to stop and capture this as much as possible, just to show what it takes to get back into these spots. the small trails, the van barely making it through, scraping through in the trees. A little behind the scenes action you don't always get where you want to go. My plan was to continue heading down this road here to a special camp spot that we've camped at a few times. But anyways, there's trees down right here, and I've had it with trees today. But nonetheless, this is a spot here. The river's over there. This is going to be the payoff after all the work. It is really beautiful right now. And still more camera angles while working on getting the van to its final resting spot for the night. So in the final edit, you see all this cut together as if it's just one fell swoop of getting the van in there. Which really it took me 5 or 6 different times just to get the van in there. Freaking tire chains! Stoked on the tire chains. I tell you what, man, those things are awesome. So here we go, this is editing in my head again. That's my entry point of how I was going to cut it together. Alright, so my idea of how I wanted to push myself on this particular trip is I didn't bring any firewood with me. So I figured, you know what, that is one thing that I want to learn about my environment, is push myself to go out and forage the woods for firewood and become more self-sustainable in that aspect. And this is my exit point cut right there in the edit. And so that's why there's so much back and forth, because they're again editing in my head. Well, I hope that gives you guys a little bit of a glimpse of some of the stuff that goes into making these videos. Now, of course, there is a lot of other details that go into it, but just try to give you guys a brief overview of what it takes. If you guys haven't seen the final film, I would highly suggest that you definitely go check out the film. I think you would really enjoy it. It is, quite honestly, probably one of my favorite overall films that I've done for living the van life. I'll post a link right up here at the top right hand corner of the screen, but also I'll have it linked in the description down below and also at the end of this video. So as far as gear, I know a lot of you guys are always asking about my gear. My main camera is now my Canon EOS R. I just added that to my fleet here about a month ago. And I've got the 24 to 105 f4. That's the L lens. That's actually the kit lens that comes with the EOS R. And then on top of that, for my audio, I've got the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. I really like that microphone. It does a great job. In fact, what I'll do is I'll give you guys a little insight on what this thing looks like. So if we switch over here to the iPhone, this right here is the Canon EOS R, and this guy is the main workhorse of everything that I do now. This is Canon's answer to the mirrorless craze that's going on right now in the digital camera world. The thing that I do like about this is that it is a full frame camera at 1080p on the video end of things. It does do 4K, but it crops in, and to be honest with you, for everything I do here on Living the Van Life and YouTube, 1080 is just fine, especially for the fact that it is full frame. That makes a big difference in a lot of different ways. The depth of field and also the low light capabilities that the camera has. And as you guys know, for any of you that have been following along on my ventures, a lot of what I do is at night out camping and doing the cooking and stuff. The other thing that I like about the Canon mirrorless camera with the EOS R is the fact that it does have the flip around screen. Now when I'm holding this thing, I'm able to can see right here in the screen what I'm looking at, what the camera is looking at, making sure my exposure is right, making sure that my autofocus is working properly and focused on me and not something else. But for vlogging, this EOS R works great. mainly because of this flip around screen right here and how that works. So this is my audio. This is the Rode Video Pro Plus microphone. Yeah, this thing's been a champion. It's worked really, really well. This is the go-to. This is the champion right here. And of course, we talked about earlier in the episode, I showed you the DJI Mavic Air. Other than that, you know what, guys? It doesn't really matter what camera you've got. You guys would actually be really surprised at how many of these videos I filmed with my iPhone. In fact, my most popular video, which is the winter storm in a van video, it's got 5.4 million views. That whole entire video was filmed with my iPhone 10. So I highly recommend and encourage you guys, if you guys have an idea for a YouTube channel or some videos to put up and produce, don't let the camera equipment hold you back, because quite honestly, you've got the power in your hand. It's sitting right in your pocket. Today's technology and the phones and the cameras they put in them are pretty phenomenal. After all, it's more about the story rather than the quality. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this behind the scenes video. If you've made it this far in the video, consider subscribing, and definitely like, share, and comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this video. I thought it was kind of fun getting to share some of my thoughts and insight when it comes to how I produce these videos. There's definitely a lot that goes into it. Alright guys, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Keep on trucking.